Johnny Lawrence is back from his defeat at the 1984 Under-18s All-Valley Karate Tournament, where he lost to a mini tree-chopping pussy. After 30 years of a downward spiral, he's getting his life back on track by reopening the dojo that taught him to be a badass in Cobra Kai. Hello there, you loose units, and welcome back to another episode of Spicy Boy Reviews. I'm, of course, your host, Andrew Iles. Yes, another review. This time we're going to do a show, a streaming service show. It's been a bloody while. Been meaning to watch this for ages, but here we are. All 4 seasons, Cobra Kai. Here we go. I can only assume the concept of this show kind of fermented in someone's brain or the showrunner's head due to that old YouTube video. I don't know if you remember it. It was a certain individual uploaded a tutorial from a certain point of view looking that Johnny Lawrence actually may have not been the bully. He pretty much could have been the hero of the Karate Kid, and from a certain point of view, the real bully was Daniel Larusso. And I can only assume after that little tutorial, the showrunners saw this and thought, there's a show in that, and here we get Cobra Kai. Created for the television by Josh Heald, John Hurwitz, and Hayden Schlossberg. Clearly massive fans of the original films, and it bloody well shows. This show is the Spider-Man No Way Home of streaming TV. This is made for fans by fans, but also trying to get a few newcomers along the way. It treats the source material with absolute respect and leans right into the cheese and the ridiculousness of the previous 3 films and gives it a huge man hug. This show works way too well. It's phenomenal. It's really, really good. I know I'm late to the party, but my God, is it so entertaining. It takes 80s ideology and thrusts it into modern day woke identity, political climate that we're all living in, and puts a magnifying glass up against the ridiculousness that people can act sometimes, but also poking fun at the cheese factor of the 80s. See, no one is safe from a joke with this show. Not modern day, not back then. That's how jokes work. Everyone is on the chopping block. And no one is safe from being poked fun at. I loved every single character in this show. I think that's only ever happened in 2 other shows before. I think The Office and Parks and Rec, and now this one. We get to see all sides of everyone's motivation here, especially the bullies. And we understand everyone's side and everyone's angle. You don't necessarily agree with them, but you understand. The show also expands on the lore and backstory of certain characters, especially the original cast. Nothing is as what it seems, and we get to see a bit more behind the scenes of what was going on. I love that they did that. Like Johnny, for instance, the title character, isn't necessarily the silver spoon privileged jock kid that we thought he was in the original. I mean, he was to a certain extent, but his backstory actually gets a bit more deeper than that. And that happens with all the characters, new and old. They all have unique backstories that fuels their motivation. Storytelling and characterization. We call that good writing. Although I have to say there was 2 characters that did grind my gears a little bit. Wasn't super keen on them. Nothing against them, but they're just my least favourite. First of all was Sam Larusso, which is Daniel Larusso's daughter. Nothing against the actor. She was great. She fit the role perfectly. She was awesome. It's just I didn't like her character so much because as soon as things started to look up and on the rise and everyone sort of pseudo got along or put their differences aside, she would do something impulsive and selfish and throw a spanner in the works and just fuck everything up. The other character I wasn't a big fan of was Robbie Keane, which is Johnny's son. Just for a lot of the show, he was very pouty, whiny, and angry at his dad, and it just got a bit tiresome after a while. Again, nothing wrong with the actor. He did a really good job, but yeah, Robbie Keane just wasn't too keen on his character. Sensei Johnny Lawrence is my spirit animal, I swear to God. He is awesome. He says what everyone is thinking. He just speaks his mind. He's got a foot in the past, like trying to make everything work in the future. He's awesome. He ain't gonna take people's bullshit. He has no time for pussies. And he's just trying to teach discipline to a generation of kids who want everything handed to them. He is the epitome of an aging badass, for better or for worse. It is clear that he peaked in the 80s and hasn't developed past then, the cliche 80s jock. I've got to admit, William Zabka, who plays Johnny Lawrence, is phenomenal in this. It is his show, of course. He's a really, really good actor. Thank God the showrunners created this show in the first place and got him back because I think we would have been denied his acting chops, because I can't reiterate how good he actually is. Like many young 80s stars, I think he just would have faded off into obscurity, and he kind of did in the late 80s and all through the 90s. But if you look at his IMDb, he's been a workhorse for years. He's just kept slogging away. I mean, a lot of it is, TV shows and B-grade films and stuff like that, but he hasn't stopped working, and it kind of shows, because his acting is really good. Thank God, like I said, that they brought him back for this show, because he's really, really good. He just would have faded off into obscurity and seen him pop up at conventions, signing stuff and getting photos, and that would have been it. But luckily, this show's doing really, really well. Of course, he's the star of the show, so hopefully we get to see more of William Zabka in the future. There's only a couple of nitpicks with the show. I mean, I love this show, but of course, you can't have it all hunky-dory. There's got to be a little bit of criticism in it. One of them, as a minor nitpick, is everyone knew karate way too bloody quickly. Like, after a couple of lessons, we just jump cut and boom, they all knew it. Like, don't get me wrong, I get it. We're going to get to the fight scenes. We're going to get to the action as soon as possible, and that's why they did it. But I was just a bit like, that's not kind of how karate works. And the episodes do feel a little bit rinse, wash, and repeat, if you're paying attention. See, I think I only noticed because I watched all 4 seasons within 2 days, crammed in. So after about, you see a rotation of like 3 or 4 episodes, the same kind of thing kind of happens. But again, it's just a little nitpick. It's not that bad. It's just, I think, because I noticed because I was binge watching it. And my last little nitpick is the fact in the later seasons, they started focusing more on other characters, and I just sort of couldn't wait for them to get back to Johnny, who was easily the best character in the whole show. He is the star, wholeheartedly. Johnny Lawrence, man, love him. The original actors all come back as well for cheeky little cameos, and I absolutely loved it. Is it fan service? Hell yes it is, but it was great to see everyone where they are now. And it seemed like the characters were in a position in their life that actually makes sense to their character. Like, oh yeah, of course you would be doing that now. Unfortunately, Pat Morita had passed away before this show got off the ground, or probably was even a concept, but they do pay a lot of respect to him, and I think he is mentioned way more in this show than the title of Cobra Kai itself. And the score is straight out of the original 3 films. I loved it. It tickled my balls. I was very on board with it. The same sound cues as well, and they sprinkled a lot of 80s classic songs in there as well, which is always welcome. It is one of the biggest streaming shows on at the moment, and every time a season gets released, it's the talk of the town. Well, at least I notice it is. And I think it's because the show doesn't push an agenda on you. It's not force-feeding you identity politics or talking down to you, to the audience, or baiting and switching an 80s icon for a third-wave feminist agenda. It's just good, wholesome fun, like shows used to be. And in saying that, there is a lot of diversity in the show, which is awesome and welcome, but it doesn't jam it down your throat. It's just a matter of fact, which is what it should be. Also, an executive producer on the show is Will Smith himself. That's right, the Will Smith. I figure it's kind of like a pseudo-apology on behalf of another individual, or a sort of cleaning of the slate, if you will. What remake? It is clear that this show is made with love, care, and respect for the fans, and doesn't talk down to the audience. If there is a message, and there bloody well is, it's a big anti-bullying one, which the original films is all about. It balances cheese, fan service, friendship, camaraderie, life lessons, and has a heavy parenting theme throughout, for like father to son, father to daughter, mother to son, all of that stuff. It's great and wholesome. And after watching all 4 seasons, I had a huge smile on my face from ear to ear. This is the future of entertainment studios. Please take notice. Like the old saying goes, if it ain't woke, don't fix it. Guys, that is my review of Cobra Kai. First 4 seasons. Can't wait for the 5th one, which is coming out next year. Please write down below if you're a fan of the Karate Kid saga and what is your favourite installment. We've forgotten about the 4th one. Maybe you remember that one with Hilary Swank, and I think that she may come back in this show. Everyone else has, why not her? And of course, if you've made it this far into the episode, please give us a thumbs up, because your love and support keeps us going, because we love movies and shows, and I assume you do as well. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe icon, because we give out episodes weekly, and we'll see you next week. And until then, stay spooky, kids.